probably won't take you long to realize you can stump the congressman, but that's okay. I've got some good staff people here to help me with responding to some of the questions. We adjourned last Friday night for the July 4th recess. We'll go back Monday. As you know, there's some big issues on the table, and there continue to be big issues on the table. My frustration has been whether we're going to even address them. One of the first issues, of course, is immigration. And I will tell you that I believe that we need to address immigration. For the sanctity of this country, preserve the heritage that has made this country so great, our immigration system is absolutely dysfunctional, broken, and needs to be addressed. That being said, the Senate has passed a comprehensive immigration program that some of you all may be aware that is now over in the House. Let me tell you what I believe is going to happen. In the House, we're going to take up certain parts of immigration reform. Those parts will be border security, an E-Verify program, a guest worker program, and an expanded visa program. We believe that according to our documentation, of the 11 million people that are over here, over 40% are here on expired visas. When their visas expire, if they're not renewed within 90 days, then they are banned from the country if they leave for 10 years. They're here for economic purposes. What I believe we need to do is go forward and make sure that we strengthen our borders. Go forward and make sure we have a strong E-Verify program so that our employers are hiring people who are here documented and legally. I believe we need to have a guest worker program in place to make sure that we can accomplish the labor needs that this country so desperately needs, whether it be agriculture, construction, or in service industries. And I believe that we also need to make sure that we don't have a brain drain, that we allow those people who have come over here on educational visas, high-tech visas, investment visas, to be here and for a period of time, and then at which time their visas expire, they're up for renewal again. We don't track whose visas are expired, and that has been part of the broken system we're in. My idea of creating a path to citizenship already exists. We have citizenship opportunities in this country. What we have is a line that is way too long that allows people who want to earn that citizenship to be in line. I don't think we need to address citizenship at this time. I think that once we address the others, we will have an opportunity to reduce the numbers in the line, have people here for the purposes they wish to be here, and then hopefully have solved a significant part of our immigration concerns. Another issue that I want to talk about real quickly has to deal with the NSA, the Patriot Act. You know, when we renewed the Patriot Act, we did so, of course, making sure that we had protections in the Act. Recently, you all saw that with the disclosure by Mr. Snowden of a blanket warrant, an order that was done by a FISA judge, a foreign intelligence surveillance court, that records for all wireless customers for Verizon in the United States were obtained as metadata. And what concerns me about this is I went back and looked at the Patriot Act, and I looked back at what we passed in the statute. And the statute says that the FISA court can issue an order upon application of the Department of Justice, or the NSA, for things which are relevant to an ongoing terrorist investigation. My question was, why is my 74-year-old mother-in-law's Verizon wireless records relevant to an ongoing terrorist investigation? Why are some of yours? The answers I received were innocuous. In fact, the answers I received resulted in me coming to the conclusion that I believe it was an absolute misapplication of the law. And while there is, with probable cause, the opportunity to go after conversations and content and individuals, to be able to obtain everything in global data has me very concerned. And so I filed a bill just Friday that would require that, under the Patriot Act, that the documents being sought must specifically indicate who the persons or persons are, and must specifically allege the actual factual basis as between them and an ongoing terrorist investigation. Look, I firmly believe, as you I hopefully do, that we need to protect ourselves from terrorism, both foreign and domestic. But one of the most fundamental principles to me is the liberties we have here and our freedoms, which include the right to privacy and unlawful search and seizures as guaranteed by the Fourth Amendment. So we'll see what happens in this over the next couple of weeks. Tax reform is a big issue, which I think that we're going to probably address in November. We will be back for the month of July, and then we take an August recess, and we're back again in September. With that, I'd like to go into questions. I think it's important that we have, and I'm going to call that first. Our job here in Congress, and I'll tell you this, and I've said this just about anywhere, anytime, I will not make a career out of this. Being a member of Congress is what I do, it's not who I am. I had a good life in the private sector, and I will be back there, hopefully on my own accord, in due time. But I think it's important that the members of Congress do not insulate themselves in a bubble in Washington, D.C., or either a district office, and we go out and meet people. We've held town hall meetings all over the district. Tonight we're doing here and also Brandon. We will continue to do this. I expect, again, a lot of frustration, and I understand that. But with that being said, I'm going to let you ask the first question.
I think all of us here love this country as much as I do. I love my country, and I don't like to see what's happening in my country now. One issue, there are just too many issues for an hour, just too many.
I agree.
One issue in the forefront of my mind is the IRS. I want it abolished. We don't need it. It was created by Congress 100 years ago. Our country lived more than 100 years without the IRS. We do not need it. We can exact the pound of flesh that the government wants through means other than the IRS, more honest means, such as a sales tax. What is your opinion on that?
Very good question. Let me tell you something. The American sentiment right now is such that we have every reason to be concerned about our government. If there was ever a time that we need to be concerned and in fear of our government, I think we've seen enough evidence of that over the last couple of months, especially with the targeting of special interest groups, conservative groups, as well as liberal groups by the IRS. Let me tell you something. The IRS has become way too big. It's become monumental. Now they're enforcing health care. That is not its intended purpose. Its intended purpose was to provide a means by which we can fund our government to meet essential government function needs. We are out of control. What I'd love to see, I'd love to see us do away with the IRS. I would not mind a fair tax at all, which would be a tax on, and I've co-sponsored the bill. I have co-sponsored the fair tax bill. The fair tax bill would basically say it's a consumption tax. I don't know. A consumption tax that will be paid when you purchase an item. There would be no income tax. So you would make 100% of your income. And then if you decided to purchase an item, you would be paying the tax on that. You could exempt certain things such as groceries and health care, pharmaceuticals, in order to make sure that you do not deprive somebody from those. But it provides us a whole different basis. It's somewhat of a value-added tax that they have in Europe. The problem with value-added tax in Europe is they also have an income tax. Look, we've got to simplify our tax system. There's no question about it. There is no rhyme or reason why we need to continue to grow the IRS to the rate and lengths that we're growing it. We're going to take up the debt ceiling issue in November. Dave Camp, who is the chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, met with us, and that's out of the committee out of which tax reform will generate. They want to put everything on the table. Everything means every exemption, every credit, and have it be justified in order to put it back in the code if we're going to do it or not. I will tell you, we are a country that has been the dominating force in this economy for the last 120 years without a doubt. We've been a haven for opportunity for those who have moved here from other countries to start entrepreneurial ventures, for those who live here to start entrepreneurial ventures. We did so with good tax policy. Now we have the highest tax rate in the world, but yet we have so many loopholes that the effective tax rate can be sometimes 19%, it can be 28%, it depends on what loopholes you're able to use. Let's simplify it. Let's do the same thing for individuals. I filed a bill called the BOLD Act, which took from the Bowles-Simpson Debt Commission. The Bowles-Simpson, Alan Simpson and Erskine Bowles, one Republican, one Democrat, were commissioned by the President in December of 2010. They gave their report, which basically was foretelling of the economic problems we're going to have if we don't adjust our tax system and get our spending under control. And what we've done is, in my bill, is we've simplified the tax programs to 10% for anybody who makes under $100,000. You still have the mortgage interest deduction and the charitable contribution deduction, but that's it. And anything over $100,000 in your income would be 20%. Granted, I'd love to get to a fair tax. I would love to get to a consumption tax. But I think what we're going to see is a bigger push. The Democrats, my Democratic colleagues, agree that we ought to do some kind of tax reform. I'm just hopeful that we use the leverage that we have with regard to a debt limit increase in November to make sure we do significant reforms in tax reform. And the only thing I can tell you is to stay on me and stay on every one of us who are elected to make sure that we do what we say we're going to do about it.